Hello, I'm Paul Henault for Simsbury Community Media, and you're watching Community Conversations. We are in studio today and speaking with Andrea Ezerins. She is a local Connecticut author who has published her first novel titled Again and Again Back to You. Andrea also has a very insightful website and newsletter called The Magpie Quill. Before we begin, let me provide a little background about Andrea. Let me state first that we are friends and we're colleagues for over 30 years at the Hartford Steam Boiler Inspection and Insurance Company. I always knew she was a very good corporate writer, but never to the level that she has risen with her debut novel. Andrea grew up in Columbia, Connecticut, where she was raised on a small hobby farm. She went to Wyndham High School and then earned a bachelor's degree in business administration at the University of Hartford. Her entire corporate career was at HSB. She finished Again and Again Back to You, a labor of love, thanks in no small part to the pandemic and an empty nest where distractions suddenly were reduced to only a spoiled German shepherd and the many bluebird families that nest in her boxes. Andrea has 2 daughters and identical twin sons. She resides in Hebron, Connecticut, with her husband, Edgar. Welcome, Andrea. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Yeah, this is good. I'm looking forward to this discussion. And your book, right?
Yes.
It's a great book. I read it cover to cover and was very, very pleased with it. So we're going to go and talk about a couple of things. But first, tell me, where'd you get the idea for the book?
So weirdly enough, I have HSB maybe to thank for it. I was coming back home from a business trip 20 years ago, and it's probably more since time keeps creeping forward. And I was sitting on an airplane and was too tired and was just kind of vegging out, I'll say. And the idea for the ending of the book came to me kind of as a fully envisioned picture of an older man walking down a hallway going into a woman's room in an assisted living type facility, and them traveling back in time to where she met and re-met her soulmate. And I knew that it was, there's more to the ending that I don't want to ruin, but that came to me, and it was so, nothing like that had ever happened, and it's never happened since, unfortunately, but it was enough so that I wrote down. I was afraid it was a dream where it would fade as time went on. So I wrote down.
One of those things you got to write down right away.
Yes. Yeah. So I tried to capture it, and a couple days later, I reread it, and it was poignant and heartbreaking because I kind of knew what was going on. And right from that point on, because I had no real desire or passion to be an author, I said, I need to write the beginning and the middle so that this ending, is
So then you
justified.
picked it up again.
Yep. And so I started, working on it little by little over those,
so
20 years.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
So it's a coming of age story. Marta and Kevin fall in love when they're 14, and then they get separated, and there's magical realism in it, in that Cholin, a channeler who can take you back in time and have you actually experience what your life would have been if you had made a different decision, and you can experience that life. So he brings Marta and Kevin back, and they get to experience that life or a different life than what they had ended up with. And it then deals with second chances and regrets and what they do with that information.
Nice. Okay. So as a first-time author, all right, tell me a little bit about the publishing process and challenges, right? How did you go about and find somebody to publish the book?
Yeah, so I, had just wanted to finish the book, and when I finally did that, it was in the middle of COVID, had extra time on my hands, and I thought, well, maybe I want to actually have this more than a pile of papers in a Staples box. Maybe I do want to have it be a book where others can, read it and enjoy it. So I started going down the self-publishing route that's, very popular. It's involved, there's a lot of steps, there's a lot of, there's a big learning curve. And that was when my husband's cousin recommended that I apply to She Writes Press. It's a women's only, they only take women authors. It's a hybrid press. And I thought, well, she said a friend of hers did it, very collaborative, supporting environment. And that's, as a new author, is something I was like, oh, that would be so nice not to be all alone. Right. So I applied. I was a year in their yellow zone. I call it kind of limbo. If you're green lighted, it means your book is ready to go and they'll take you on. If you're red lighted, it means thanks, but no thanks. Yellow meant, if you work with us, you might get green lighted ultimately. So I spent a year working with them to get it to the level that they wanted. And
so that's a real challenge for a new author.
Yes, it's in hindsight, I'm so glad I went with them, because there's 600 other female authors that have gone through the same process, and it's very collaborative. We have our own little Facebook group. You get to ask questions and things, so it's not this lonely kind of process that I understand, it can be.
Yeah, you mentioned about the two main characters.
Yes.
Right, and the character development in the book actually is very good over the years, but you picked the 70s to start.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
So if you're supposed to write what you know. So I grew up in the 70s. So I'm Marta and Kevin's, age. So I like that aspect of write what you know. But also the 70s is a time of kind of change and turmoil. I brought in the song, Don McLean's American Pie plays a big part of it, and I like the idea of that song kind of setting the stage of having people remember what the 70s and 80s were like as we kind of as they progress. So it just seemed like a natural kind of selection to pick that for when they start.
Were the two characters anybody that you knew in real life?
So I'll tell a funny story. So Marta has whispers of me. I like to read, and some of my favorite childhood books are referenced in it. Harriet the Spy and the Black Stallion books. So there's pieces of me in there. There's a big part. Marta parents are immigrants, and she doesn't have enough clothes. Different outfits for every day of the week, and she's very sensitive to it. That's a theme that carries throughout the book as she grows and develops, and ultimately she kind of tosses all those business clothes away. So it's an important theme. And I took that. My husband and his sister, my sister-in-law, also grew up in like that, and that is one of their sensitivities, or one of the things that they remember being very concerned about. So I put that into the book from their experience. Well, my mother, when she read the book, she said, "Andrea, I didn't realize you didn't have enough clothes growing up. Oh my God," she feels horrible. And I've told her that, no, I based it on,
Thanks,
my
no,
I'm
okay, I'm good, I'm good.
And I figure maybe I'll get a few extra, Christmas gifts or something, because she's still, it's been a number of years, and she still every once in a while makes reference to it.
So one of the main themes through this is like development, right?
Yes.
So developing them from when they're 14 till through age like 7. I don't want to give some of the ending away, but that was good. Would you compare this? You mentioned one book already. Would you compare this to other books that you might have used as a model, or was this again back to that airplane ride?
Right. So I don't, they say there's only so many stories in the world, but there's nothing really exactly like this, because I make channeling as real as, it's not a time loop, it's not time travel.
Talk a little bit about the channeling.
Okay.
That was pretty interesting in the book. I found that rather unique.
Right. And so I really, in order to, know what the ending was, I really worked to make channeling. And this is the idea that this mystical, he's from Sri Lanka, and a little boy that came to America, that has the ability and then can take certain people to have that same experience. I wanted to make it as real as possible. So I did, research it. I have MIT students that, developed some of the thought process behind it. And I think I've been successful in making it as real as possible, because I've been to a number of book clubs, and people have said, channeling is real. And I've had to, go.
So when you say go to book clubs, you mean going as an author?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I've
had, yep. I've had 3 opportunities where the book club has selected my book, and then I come in for the discussion and talk to them. I've got 3 more coming up, and it's been one of the highlights of, talking to people that are.
That's really good.
And I never, I've been in book clubs, and I never even thought that an author was, but when you're local, so I've been to the Farmington Woods one over here, and,
nice.
So it's been a fun experience meeting readers.
Wow, it's almost like a Hallmark movie where local author, and then you start going out and writing and everything else.
Right?
Okay.
No, it's a whole different world that and things I didn't expect.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, let's talk about where people can buy the book.
Okay. Yeah. So I know it's at the Avon and Farmington Library because of the book club activity. They stocked it. I didn't check to see if Simsbury's library has it, but they could certainly get it. Amazon and any local bookstore can have it. It's an ebook. It's available in ebook as well as the paperback book, and Audible. So really anywhere books are sold, you can order it.
All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit here on you. Okay, so you have a website.
Yes.
You also have a newsletter.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. So tell us about the website and the newsletter.
Okay, so one of the steps in the process that I didn't know when I wrote the book. I thought writing the book was the key, most important thing. But in order to get your book out there in this noisy world, you need what's called an author's platform. And the She Writes Press publishing folks help you. They've got a guide, a book that, gives you recommendations. So, they say you have to get a website and start establishing that. You should start writing a newsletter in advance of your book coming out to get people to be aware of you as a person and connect with potential readers and such. So those were all things that I started maybe a year before the book came out in September.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and so I publish a newsletter twice a month. I had a whole whiteboard of all ideas because I was afraid I was going to run out of, things to say.
Right.
So I've gone through my whiteboard of ideas in that time. And then things, keep coming up. I did a polar plunge the New Year's Day, and I thought, well, I think people would
I saw that
know about that. So things,
That's something I'm ever going to do, but I'm glad you did it.
I didn't think I'd ever do it. I don't like cold. I don't, but I did it and thought, well, I'm going to write about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, okay, so one of the things that was in one of your newsletters was about attending a Don McLean concert.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yes. So American Pie, important part. It's Marta and Kevin's song.
You don't want to sing the song for us, do you?
No. So
I'm not going to sing the song.
Right. Okay. It's a connection point for them throughout. Much like the rest of us, American Pie has, these lyrics that no one really, knows much about. And so ultimately, Marta comes to realize, it's kind of this sad goodbye song. So it's got a connection. I had to get a copyright to have the lyrics throughout the book. And so I had, started connecting, and someone, a reader of the newsletter, made a comment because I had written about American Pie being an important part of the book, and went through the copyright, and they said, "Hey, Don McLean is touring. It's his 50th."
I didn't know you were still alive.
Right, dead or alive,
Okay.
right. 50th anniversary of the album, so he's touring. Yeah. So I said, well, let me look up where it is. Well, Terrytown, New York, which is close enough.
Yeah, not that far away.
Right. So I got 2 tickets. Told my husband it was his Christmas present.
Yeah, Edgar, we're going.
Right,
Yeah.
and went, and I brought a book. And had it with I autographed it to Don McLean, and after the concert, I gave it to, one of the bandmates and said, could you, give this to Don McLean? His song is important in it. So I haven't heard back from him, but I like to think that he's at least slipped through it. So,
yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, you're retired now.
Yes.
You were senior vice president at HSB, which is great.
Yes.
And as I said earlier, I saw you, when you originally started with the company,
right
out of college,
and
then worked your way up. I knew you were a great writer, a great corporate writer, as I said earlier. Had no idea about these talents, although I did see some of the stuff at some retirement parties that you wrote,
right,
which we won't go there.
Which we won't go.
That was pretty good. So what's next? What are you thinking about next?
So that's funny you should ask. So I've just signed my contract for my second book.
Oh, okay.
So the second book is it's, these are the things I've learned. It takes a full year, for a book, once the author's finished it, for it to get out in the world, for them to do the cover, and lots of times they redo the title and all the setting stuff. So I've signed the contract, so it should be out in the spring of 2026. And so I'm excited about that, and gonna,
Do you have a working title?
So the working title is The Green Forest, because it's a modern retelling of L.M. Montgomery, and she wrote Annie of Green Gables. This is her lesser known work called The Blue Castle. So she has a dream about the Blue Castle in the original. Mine is the girl has a dream about a green forest. So I doubt that title will stay, because it's not very kind of descriptive, but who knows? But it's coming out. So in my newsletter, I'm going to keep, people informed about that process and such. And I know on my website you can sign up for my newsletter. It's an easy.
And what we will do for our, speaking to our audience here, what we'll do is we will give that website, and the newsletter will give that information at the end of the program. So.
Great.
But this is really good. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. It's very, very informative.
Yes,
and
thanks for
like
having
I said,
me.
the book, the book's great. My wife read it. I read it. I finished it in time for the interview.
Great.
So we're happy to have you here, and we want you to come back for the introduction of the second book.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Paul.
That'd be great. So thank you to our audience for watching Simsbury Community Media in this edition of Community Conversations. Remember, we are a donor-driven media, and we can't survive without your support. So if you like this content, please consider donating today. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
every
Contribution
Counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
where your town,
Your schools
and your government
come together.